Greetings. As we approach the end of summer 2020, I'm reminded of a story several years ago when my wife and some friends went away on their own vacation time. And they looked at me and said, "Are you going to be okay? Are you going to be able to cook for yourself?" And I said, "I'm sure that I can turn the oven on and pull something out of the freezer and throw something in and have it cook and eat. Or perhaps I can just take some water and put it into a pot on the stove and boil it and make some hot dogs." More than likely, if I needed to, I could dive into, say, my mother had this book of recipes from her church that everybody in the church would gather and submit a recipe into the book, and they would learn from each other how they might best suit stir-fry or cookies or breads. Or my mother had her own little secret cache of recipes, and I could dive into that box and maybe find a recipe or two of food that I liked. Or even in our own household now, we have our own book of recipes of homemade pizza and cookies and other entrees that I'm sure that if I was really hungry, I could dive into that. Or if all of that failed, I'm sure that I could just pull up my phone and go online to find a recipe that would find me somewhere, somehow, some easy way to cook food to sustain myself. But having a recipe isn't always as easy or clear-cut as you might think. After all, what is a pinch of something or a dash of something else? And truly, what is simmer? Is it 2 or 3 or 1 on the stove? Sometimes cooking is much of an art as it is a science of reading the ingredients and the recipe itself. Many of us, though, looking in our lives, also would want a type of recipe, directions, ingredients of how to best succeed in who we are and how we live. Some of us even look to God for direction, perhaps even a recipe of how to live out our life in faith. Psalm 32, verse 8 reads this: God says, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you." But many of us in this world struggle with that verse, with those words. We struggle with the understanding of what does it mean that God could actually speak to us? How would we hear? How would we know this is God? And we also, some of us might struggle with, what does it mean to put all of this together? What does it mean to respond to these instructions, these ingredients from God to live our lives of life and faith to the full? I would invite you to join us this coming Sunday, August 30th, 2020, as we continue in our series on 2 Chronicles 20, diving into what it means that God speaks to us and what it means that we might respond to Him. Until then, peace and blessings, my friends. Amen.